Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Ginger Pierce, and I'm one of the travel agents with Marvelous Mouse Travels. We are the agency that sponsors this Facebook group, as well as several others that are focused on different destinations. And we are also a You Preferred agency with Universal Parks and Resorts. We were chosen by them as the top travel agency in the country for 2019. So, welcome to Sundays with MMT. This is a weekly live video series that we do in one of our Facebook groups every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we are really excited to be in this group, I think actually for the first time tonight, to talk to you about the reopening of Universal Studios Hollywood, which is so exciting. So, we have a lot of information that we're going to share with you tonight, but we also want to leave some time at the end of the video to take any questions that you might have about the reopening procedures. So we are using a program known as StreamYard to go live this evening. And if you want to post a comment or a question, then StreamYard will ask you to approve it to display your username and profile picture. Just know that you can decline that permission and you'll still be able to post your question or comment anonymously, and we'll still be able to interact with you. So I'm joined tonight by one of our marvelous agents, Jacqueline Versillo. Jacqueline, thank you so much for being here tonight. And if you would please just, let everybody know kind of how long you've been with the agency and what the best way is for them to contact you if they're interested in planning a vacation.
Thank you for having me, Ginger. I'm so excited to be here. California is open, and I had the opportunity to go to Universal Hollywood, so I can't wait to tell you all about it. You can find me on Instagram at Jacqueline's Marvelous Mouse Travels. I've been with the company for about 4 years now, and I am located on the West Coast, so I'm very excited that we are open. And I want to say hello to the Universal Hollywood group. We've really been growing the last couple of weeks, so hello to our old members and our new ones.
Yes, if you have been following along in the groups for the past couple of weeks, you probably have noticed that Jacqueline has been posting a lot of her experiences because, it's been over a year that the parks have been closed. And who would have ever thought, a year ago that it would just now be to the point where we were reopening again, which I know is so excited for everybody who is over on the West Coast and who, Universal Hollywood is your home park. But Jacqueline, you were actually able to get a little bit of an early taste, no pun intended, of the parks at the Taste of Universal Food Festival that you went to. So tell us a little bit about that, about what you got to do and maybe what some of your favorite treats were for that.
We loved Taste of Universal. This is kind of the first time Universal ever did a food tasting event. Disneyland has done it, Knott's Berry Farm has done it, but this was their way of kind of opening the gates before the opening. We had the best time. It was by far the best value of a ticket, and the amount of food that we got, we had to take food to go because we had so many opportunities. So we showed up, we got our little pass for the day, and on the back of the pass, it has numbers 1 through 5, and you get 5 different meals for an adult. If you're a child, you got 3, and they would just mark you off after every stop that you made. The food was incredible. We had a great time. We stopped at the Three Broomsticks and got our fish and chips and our butter beer first, because you always have to have a butter beer when you go to Universal Hollywood. And again, you can see there's nobody in the background there. And for us, we sat down at the tables, social distanced, and enjoyed our first meal. But there were a lot of also other carts along the way where you could pick up a Bavarian pretzel for one of your credits that was the size of a large pizza. And we had a huge donut from, we went to the Simpsons area and we grabbed our donut. We took that to go for dessert for the night because we were so full from all the wonderful treats that Universal offered. My husband picked up some tacos for himself, and we went to Minion Cafe and got some banana pudding for the kids. It was a sugar overload day. That was one of our favorites. It was a banana pudding with chocolate at the bottom. But this was truly the first time. I'm used to going to Disneyland and having all these creative desserts. And for the first time, Universal kind of stepped up their game and had time to create all of these new products. And we were really impressed.
That's awesome. I love that little minion cupcake or banana pudding. That is so cute.
It was
and I
to eat. It really
yeah,
was. but
I
it was
know.
delicious not to eat.
That's right. That's right. It looks really good. It looks like a really good quality, banana pudding and everything. So that one's really adorable. That's probably my favorite picture that you shared with us. So, obviously the park has reopened. Its official reopening date was April 16th. So, who currently has the opportunity to purchase tickets and visit the park right now?
Right now, it is California residents only, and that is a state mandate. And you have to actually go buy a ticket and you put in your address, and they will also check your ID when you go into the parks. There's also people there even after you go through the park. There's a lot of employees there that will stop you and ask you again, what is your zip code? And they want you to mainly take a survey at the end, but it's also a way of double checking that you've passed every step for to be a California resident to be inside the park.
Definitely. And again, like Jacqueline said, that is state mandate, that's similar to what they're doing over at Disneyland as well. And so, California is being very careful with their reopening procedures. And I think they have taken a lot of cues kind of from how the Florida parks have reopened. I know that definitely in the Disney parks that a lot of the protocols that they have are similar, in Florida as they are in California. So, Jacqueline, what cleaning and distancing protocols does Universal have in place out in Hollywood?
I completely agree with you, Ginger. We were talking before about the Jurassic World ride, and I've also been following along with all of you guys going to Universal Orlando, and it was like a carbon copy of what happened in Orlando is happening here in Hollywood. So it was kind of an easy thing to put in place for us. So when you come into the parks, you'll notice there are hand sanitizing stations everywhere. You will notice social distancing marks on the ground. You also notice on rides, you are actually more than 6 feet apart from families, and you can see a little Universal employee walking the other way to make sure everybody is keeping their distance. He also was making sure nobody was eating food in line, and we had somebody behind us who was like, oh, I'm hungry, and took out a bagel, and he said, ma'am, there are designated eating areas. If you want to eat, unfortunately, you have to leave the line. So they are walking back and forth, but they're still in character too. It's nothing abrasive. It's just they want to make sure they're keeping everybody safe. And with rides like Jurassic World, we talked, there's a family in the front and one in the back and nobody in between. Studio Tour is the same. It's every other row and you're spaced out. I can't remember the last time I was in a studio tour and the tram wasn't packed full of people. So it was pretty nice. And they have so many trams that ran really fast. But before every single ride that you get on, they spray you with hand sanitizer. So bring lotion, because after the end of the day, your hands get a little rough, but everybody gets sprayed. And in between rides, you'll see them wiping down surfaces because they do every other rows, and then the next time they'll do those rows that they missed before, and they're really keeping up with all the cleaning procedures. I felt extremely safe.
I totally agree. That's been our experience in the Orlando parks as well. That, I honestly, as someone who likes my personal space and doesn't like, people being all up, next to me and everything, I actually love the physical distancing. I feel like it makes it a very pleasant experience in the parks. And I agree. Like, I love seeing them take the cleaning protocols so seriously with the rides. Makes me feel good, putting on the hand sanitizer. I asked one of the ride attendants one day how many bottles of hand sanitizer they went through in a day. And he said they go through something like 10 bottles of hand sanitizer on a day. And I believe it because, they do, like, they give you a nice, generous
Yes.
sample. Yes, to make
And
sure that
I agree with you. Some of these, I'm like, this is nice. You don't feel everybody's on top of you all the time. And I will say, when we got on Flight of Hippogriff, there was a little boy a couple rows ahead of us whose mask had fallen down just briefly under his nose, and they wouldn't let the ride start. And the guy, one of the cast members said, put it over your nose or we can't go. And so they are they don't want to risk closing down again. They want to make sure everybody feels safe and all the safety protocols are in place. So it was very impressive for opening day that they kind of had it together with this, all the safety measures were ready to roll opening day. And I did not notice one mishap, and we were there from opening to closing.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell they've definitely done their homework. They've researched, they've trained their people well to make sure, like you said, because, it's not just about meeting a state mandate or anything. Like it's in everybody's best interest for the park to stay open. And so they really are going to do everything in their power to make sure that they can remain open for families to come and enjoy their vacation together. So let's talk a little bit about capacity. Now, we know that capacity is being limited. So are park pass reservations required?
For Universal, if you are buying your ticket online, it is a date-based ticket. So that is your way of getting your park reservation. You don't actually have to go in and pick a park date. You did if you were an annual pass holder and those opened up a few weeks ago to pick your date. And that was the only one you had to make a park reservation for. If you are buying a new ticket, it will have a date on it, and that is your park entry for the day.
Awesome. So talk to me a little bit about what character experiences look like right now.
I think the character experiences are so much better than before. Before, there would be lines around the block to even get close to a character. Right now, the characters are out all over the place. You are social distance. There are ropes in front of them, but you can take that's Hello Kitty right when you walk in, and you can take quick pictures, and the employees are standing there making sure you're standing on your dot, and you move along. And we took picture after picture. My kids found Frankenstein. We found the Minions. They're out everywhere. And before, it was almost a hunt to find a character to take a picture with, or you're going to wait in line for about an hour. And then sometimes the character would go away for 30 minutes for a
Yeah.
break. This is it's so much fun. And I also find too, I'm watching little ones who are often sometimes intimidated
Yeah.
by getting close to those characters.
Mhm.
And it's not as intimidating for them. You just stand on that dot and they're right there. It's a great experience. It's something I hope they kind of continue with, because you get a lot more people through and you get a lot more character photos.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially about the little ones who often are, I know my daughter at first with some of the fur characters, she was very apprehensive about that when she was little. And so it is like a nice way to kind of warm them up to characters, just to let them
Yes.
stand at that little bit of a distance makes a
You're,
huge
you're
difference.
right. My 7-year-old would never have taken a picture with Frankenstein, but because he was behind the rope and he's given the thumbs up, he was like, "Let's do it, Mom!" And we got a lot of great pictures that day, and it added to the experience of seeing more characters.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, we've kind of talked about a lot of the different elements, but in your opinion, because are somebody who went all the time before the closures and you have been back since the reopening, do you think that it's worth the visit right now, or do you think that there is too much missing or not reopened yet that people, it's not worth it to go at the time?
Absolutely, I would 100% go. I think too, it just felt good to be back. On the first ride, I remember we were riding the roller coaster and I just had this moment of euphoria. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're back." And it was so fun to hear the giggles of everyone. The parks aren't 100% open. There are a few rides that, since they're indoors and a little bit longer, they need to stay closed right now due to state mandates. But we got to get on the new Pets ride off the leash, which was absolutely adorable. It's kind of following along in the Harry Potter lines, that you're actually walking through a New York apartment and it's a whole story before you even get to the ride, which was really exciting. And that is a virtual queue. So the second your queue opened, you got right on the ride and it was wonderful. Most of the time, I'd say the studio tour is kind of the biggest thing for the park. It's an hour of fun, and that's open. And I would go to the park just to get on that ride, because there's so much fun movie history, and it is several rides all in one. And most, I would say, out of the rides, probably 75% are open, but your day is going to be full, even at low capacity, even at low ride wait times. You're filling your day with all those rides. And we closed the park down, and we probably still could have gone on more rides several times, but it was well worth it. And we would have gone back the next day if we had tickets.
Yeah. So, I'm throwing this one as a curveball that I'm throwing at you because I didn't prepare you for this question, but hopefully it's not too hard. So, what was the thing, like the ride or the experience or whatever, that you were like the most excited to experience again?
Again, oh gosh, I would definitely say the studio tour is always my favorite. Jurassic World, because it had just opened up here in California around January before the closure. And so that one, going to experience that again. And that is probably the most popular ride right now at the parks.
Mhm.
So that was really exciting to experience again. And I just also too just loved walking around Hogwarts and
Mhm.
hearing the music play. And there are also, they do have shows going on, like the Pets show. They're doing live shows, which I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting. I thought those would be shut down, but totally don't know why I forgot. You're in an amphitheater that's outside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the air's going through and it's totally safe. So that was really exciting to see shows and actors out and about doing their thing.
That's awesome. And definitely just knowing that those team members are back at work, that's just such an exciting thing for,
Yeah.
them and for, just California as a whole. It's really, really excited to see.
And I will say the studio tour, they had a lot of time to come up with some new jokes. And it was really fun. We were laughing so hard because we go on that studio tour so often. We're like, wow, they really had a lot of time to come up with some really good new material.
That's good. Yeah, definitely workshopping it for a year, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's take a second and see if we've had any questions come through. I don't see any right now, but just know that if you are watching this after it's gone live, because this video will, it'll live in this group for a while. So if you have a question when you're watching the replay, you can feel free to go ahead and put that in the comments. And, Jacqueline or I, will see it and we'll try to get the answer to you as quickly as possible. But thank you so much for joining us tonight for Sundays with MMT. We had a lot of fun chatting about the reopening, and I'm just so excited. I know Jacqueline has been kind of waiting and so excited to be back in the parks. And so I'm thrilled for her and for everybody else who's having the opportunity to experience that, just a little bit of magic again in the park. If you would like to get some information about planning your own trip to Universal Hollywood from Jacqueline or from any of our agents, feel free to reach out for a free, no obligation quote. Remember that our planning services are completely free when you book your vacation through us, and it is the same price to book through us as it is to book directly through Universal on your own. So next week, we're actually going to be live in our Universal Orlando group. We're going to be talking about the best restaurants at Universal Orlando. Those are always some of our most popular live streams when we talk about food. Everybody loves to talk about food. And then in 2 weeks, we will be in our Disney World group doing an overview of the Disney World on-site value resorts. So we thank you again for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you again next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Sundays with MMT. Bye, everybody.